In an era where geopolitical tensions are escalating, the figure of Xi Jinping stands as a pivotal force shaping not only China but also the global landscape. As the Chinese leader consolidates power and pursues a vision of national rejuvenation, recent analyses shed light on his motivations and the consequences of his leadership on China's domestic policies and international relations. A notable development underscoring China's assertive military posture is the revelation of new landing barges being constructed at the Guangzhou shipyard. This intelligence, reported by Naval News, suggests that the People's Liberation Army is preparing for potential military operations against Taiwan. Analyst H.I. Sutton noted that unusually long road bridges extending from the barges which could facilitate amphibious assaults on Taiwanese territories. Such advancements coincide with a report from the Hudson Institute that highlights China's extensive development of hardened military shelters, indicating a comprehensive strategy aimed at enhancing its military capabilities in the Western Pacific. The urgency of understanding Xi Jinping's strategic vision is amplified by the recent Salt Typhoon cyberattack, a breach that revealed vulnerabilities in U.S. telecommunications, prompting concerns over China's ambitions for nuclear first-strike capabilities. H.R. McMaster, former National Security Advisor, characterized this incident as indicative of a broader goal to establish a more aggressive military stance. Michael Sheridan's new book, The Red Emperor, Xi Jinping and His New China, offers a detailed exploration of Xi's ascent and the historical context that shapes his leadership. Born in 1953 into a politically influential family, Xi's childhood was marked by both privilege and persecution, especially during the Cultural Revolution, when his father, a senior Communist Party official, fell from grace. Sheridan emphasizes that understanding Xi's formative years is crucial to comprehending his current ideological framework and worldview. Xi's rise to power was strategic and calculated, marked by his ability to cultivate alliances while avoiding unnecessary confrontations. Unlike historical tyrants such as Stalin or Mao, Xi's approach is characterized by a blend of ideology and pragmatism. He has navigated the complexities of the Communist Party while pushing for a return to a strong centralized state, reshaping Chinese governance and economic policy towards a more state-controlled model, which he calls Marxist nationalism. Amid these developments, the international implications of Xi's leadership are becoming increasingly apparent. Kevin Rudd's on Xi Jinping delves into the ideological underpinnings of Xi's policies, arguing that they stem from a genuine belief in a Marxist framework that prioritizes the state's role in economic development and the pursuit of national interests. Rudd identifies a shift in the Communist Party's principal contradiction under Xi, now framed as the need for balanced development that addresses both economic growth and social equity. The repercussions of Xi's policies extend beyond China's borders, impacting global markets and international relations. With the Belt and Road Initiative, Xi aims to strengthen China's economic ties worldwide, although this strategy has faced scrutiny for potential debt traps and environmental concerns. The recent withdrawal of Panama from a key infrastructure agreement with China illustrates the complexities of these relationships as geopolitical pressures from the United States challenge China's influence in the region. As Xi Jinping continues to consolidate power, observers are left to ponder the future trajectory of Chinese governance and its implications for global stability. The potential for increased tensions, particularly regarding Taiwan, coupled with Xi's ambitious foreign policy, suggests that the world may be on the brink of significant shifts in power dynamics. Analysts predict that China's efforts to reposition itself as a leader in the global south will be critical in shaping not only regional but also global geopolitics in the years to come. The intricate interplay of Xi Jinping's ideological beliefs, historical context, and strategic ambitions will undoubtedly continue to influence international relations, and as the geopolitical landscape evolves, understanding Xi's motivations will be essential for navigating the complexities of a rapidly changing world. As such, the global community must remain vigilant and engaged, anticipating the implications of Xi's policies and the broader trends they signify. In recent years, The world has witnessed a significant transformation in China under the leadership of Xi Jinping, whose ideologies and policies have far-reaching implications not only for the nation but for global geopolitics as well. As Xi solidifies his grip on power within the Chinese Communist Party's CPC, understanding the nuances of his thought, commonly referred to as Xi Jinping thought, is becoming increasingly essential for analysts and political observers alike, particularly in the context of the evolving US-China rivalry. Xi Jinping thought, as articulated by various scholars and political figures, represents a complex tapestry of Marxist nationalism which he has woven into the fabric of Chinese governance and international relations. Kevin Rudd, a former Australian Prime Minister and a keen observer of Chinese affairs, delves into this topic in his recent book, On Xi Jinping: How Xi's Marxist Nationalism is Shaping China and the World. Rudd argues that Xi's ideology is not merely a set of political slogans but rather a deeply held belief system that shapes the CPC's policies and actions. One of the foundational components of Xi's thought is the redefinition of the CPC's principal contradictions. Following the economic reforms initiated by Deng Xiaoping, the party's focus was largely on material development. However, during the CPC's 19th National Congress in 2017, Xi posited a new contradiction: the gap between unbalanced and inadequate development and the people's growing needs for a better life. This shift signifies a heightened focus on reducing wealth inequality, encapsulated in Xi's Common Prosperity initiative, which aims to address both material and cultural impoverishment. Rudd identifies three key components of Xi's Marxist nationalism. First, it has propelled Chinese politics to the Leninist left, consolidating Xi's power within the CPC and reinforcing party discipline. Second, it has steered the economy back to a more state-controlled model with an emphasis on state-owned enterprises (SOEs) over market forces. Finally, it has shifted foreign policy to a more nationalistic stance, promoting the notion of Chinese exceptionalism while challenging the liberal capitalist order dominated by the United States. As the geopolitical landscape continues to shift, Rudd's analysis raises critical questions about the future of China and its global interactions. He cautions that while predictions of peak China may be overstated, a decade of slower growth is inevitable, influenced by demographic challenges, declining productivity, and geopolitical tensions. Rudd predicts an intensification of the US-China decoupling, a nuclear arms race, and a shift in economic partnerships, particularly with countries in the global south. A parallel examination of Xi Jinping's rise can be found in Michael Sheridan's The Red Emperor, Xi Jinping in His New China, where he explores the personal history and ideological roots of China's leader. Xi's formative years, marked by the Cultural Revolution and the downfall of his family, shaped his worldview and approach to governance. As Sheridan notes, Xi emerged from a background of privilege only to experience the harsh realities of political purges, which instilled in him a survivalist mentality and a deep understanding of the party's inner workings. Sheridan paints a portrait of Xi as both an ideologue and a pragmatist whose experiences have made him a masterful player in the political arena. Unlike historical totalitarian figures, Xi does not seek to create a new system but rather operates within the existing framework, using his connections and knowledge to consolidate power. This approach has allowed him to navigate the complexities of Chinese politics while establishing a significant global presence. The implications of Xi's policies extend beyond China's borders, particularly as the nation prepares for possible military action against Taiwan. Reports indicate that China is ramping up its military capabilities with the construction of landing barges and hardened shelters for its air force, suggesting a serious commitment to its territorial ambitions. As tensions escalate, the global community watches closely, aware that the ideological underpinnings of Xi's leadership may dictate not just China's fate but also the stability of international relations. In conclusion, as the world grapples with the challenges posed by Xi Jinping's assertive governance, the need for a nuanced understanding of Xi Jinping thought becomes imperative. Both Rudd's and Sheridan's works contribute to this understanding, providing insights into the mind of a leader who is reshaping China and challenging the world order. The future of global politics will likely hinge on how effectively the international community can engage with, or counter, the ideological and strategic ambitions of Xi Jinping's China, a reality that is becoming increasingly evident as geopolitical tensions rise. 2 decades after gaining independence, East Timor stands at a crossroads, grappling with the dual challenges of economic reliance on dwindling oil and gas revenues and persistent poverty affecting nearly half of its population. Since its emergence as a sovereign state in 2002, East Timor, also known as Timor-Leste, has made significant strides in establishing a stable democracy, yet critical issues linger that threaten its future trajectory. President José Ramos Horta, a key figure in the country's independence movement, has taken on the role of both a leader and a global advocate for East Timor. At 75, Ramos Horta tirelessly seeks international partnerships to address pressing issues such as agriculture, food security, and poverty. No country in Southeast Asia or in Africa began as we did, from ashes, from total destruction, he noted, reflecting on the nation's tumultuous history. However, he also acknowledged in 22 years we should have resolved child poverty, child malnutrition, mother malnutrition, and extreme poverty. So that has been a failure. Despite these setbacks, East Timor has demonstrated resilience in its young democratic system. The country has held competitive elections and boasts one of the highest levels of press freedom in Asia. Life expectancy has improved significantly, and access to electricity has become universal. Such progress has earned East Timor recognition as a case study for other post-conflict nations striving for stability. The visit of Pope Francis in September 2024 briefly shone a spotlight on East Timor, where approximately 97% of the population identifies as Roman Catholic. The papal visit not only highlighted the country's cultural identity but also rekindled memories of its painful past, particularly regarding the Church's involvement in the struggle for independence. However, the visit was tainted by allegations against Bishop Carlos Ximenes Bello, a celebrated figure in the independence movement, concerning past sexual abuse. Ramos Horta addressed the issue, stating it had already been addressed years ago by the Vatican, indicating a complex relationship between legacy and accountability. Economically, East Timor remains heavily dependent on oil and gas, which accounts for a substantial portion of its revenue. As these resources dwindle, the government faces mounting pressure to diversify its economic base. Ramos Horta has expressed hope in developing offshore gas fields, particularly the Greater Sunrise Project, which could provide critical funding for the nation's needs. However, the timeline for this project is lengthy, with expectations of at least 5 years before any revenue is realized. Moreover, the country's infrastructural and social challenges persist. Analysts criticize the government for mismanaging oil revenues, which have largely funded an inflated bureaucracy rather than critical sectors like education and agriculture. The World Bank has warned that East Timor is heading toward a damaging fiscal cliff by 2035, underscoring the urgency for reform and diversification. Ramos Horta's administration is also navigating the complex geopolitical landscape shaped by China's growing influence in the region. East Timor has welcomed Chinese investments, including nearly $7 million for the presidential palace. However, this reliance has prompted concerns regarding Beijing's long-term strategic intentions. When China looks at investing in another developing country, they do so with one eye on a viable business but with the other eye on a longer-term strategic interest, cautioned Damian Kingsbury, an expert on Indo-Pacific relations. The president has sought to counter these anxieties, asserting that East Timor does not borrow from China and maintains its only military security agreement with Australia. Such balancing acts illustrate the difficulties small nations face amidst global power rivalries, especially as the United States ramps up its military presence in nearby regions. As East Timor looks to the future, it must confront the stark realities of poverty and underdevelopment while leveraging its democratic achievements. Citizens like Alda Bisoy Correa, who expressed disillusionment over the independence movement's promises, encapsulate the urgency for meaningful change. "Independence hasn't made a difference to us," Xi lamented, reflecting the sentiments of many who continue to struggle despite the nation's hard-fought freedom. In conclusion, while East Timor has laid a foundation for democratic governance and made progress in numerous areas, the path ahead remains fraught with challenges. The leadership must act decisively to address economic vulnerabilities, ensure social equity, and navigate the complexities of international relations. The coming years will be crucial in determining whether this young nation can transform its potential into sustainable prosperity. In a time of intensifying geopolitical tensions and shifting alliances, insights into the motivations of global leaders are more crucial than ever. The recent publication of Michael Sheridan's book The Red Emperor, Xi Jinping in His New China sheds light on the enigmatic figure of Xi Jinping, who now stands at the helm of a nation with ambitions that could reshape the balance of power in Asia and beyond. As the world watches, evidence mounts that China is advancing its preparations for a potential military confrontation with Taiwan. In early January 2025, the Naval News reported satellite images depicting the construction of landing barges at the Guangzhou shipyard designed for amphibious assaults on Taiwanese territories. Notably, these vessels feature unusually long road bridges that naval analyst H.I. Sutton suggests are tailored for operations against Taiwan's offshore islands. Concurrently, the Hudson Institute highlighted the establishment of hundreds of hardened shelters for the Chinese Air Force, reinforcing the notion that Beijing is bolstering its military capabilities in anticipation of a conflict. The backdrop of these military developments is underscored by a chilling cyber breach, the Salt Typhoon hack, which U.S. officials have now acknowledged was far more extensive than initially reported. H.R. McMaster, a former national security advisor, remarked that such incidents reveal China's ambition for nuclear first-strike capabilities. Against this tumultuous landscape, the narrative of Xi Jinping's rise becomes even more significant. Sheridan's book details Xi's formative years, illustrating how his lineage, son of a high-ranking Communist Party official, shaped his political ambitions. Born in 1953, Xi's early life was marked by privilege and subsequent hardship during the Cultural Revolution, which saw his family persecuted. This duality of experience, from princeling to sent-down youth, imbued Xi with a survival instinct that has defined his political journey. The author notes that Xi learned to strategize and build alliances quietly, a skill that has served him well as he ascended through the ranks of the Communist Party to become its undisputed leader in 2012. Crucially, Sheridan portrays Xi not merely as a product of his environment but as a leader with a vision, a blend of ideology and pragmatism that makes him a formidable figure on the global stage. Unlike historical dictators who constructed totalitarian systems, Xi inherited one and has sought to adapt it to his goals. His consolidation of power has been marked by a ruthless elimination of rivals, positioning China as not just a regional power but a global one. This rise of Xi Jinping is occurring in parallel with significant shifts in U.S. foreign policy, particularly against the backdrop of Donald Trump's second term. Recent statements from Trump suggest a desire to engage in negotiations with both China and Russia to dramatically reduce military spending. Such a proposition, while intriguing, raises concerns about the implications for U.S. military posture and its commitments to allies in the Asia-Pacific region. In the wake of Trump's overtures, experts are voicing alarm over a potential misunderstanding of the strategic landscape. Mick Ryan, a retired Australian Major General, warns that Trump's remarks regarding Ukraine could embolden both Putin and Xi, suggesting a tacit acceptance of territorial ambitions that threaten the sovereignty of nations like Taiwan. The shifting dynamics may compel countries like Australia to reassess their security strategies and defense commitments, especially as the U.S. appears to recalibrate its role on the global stage. As Xi Jinping's ambitions and Trump's foreign policy unfold, the interplay between these powerful figures will likely have lasting repercussions for international relations. Observers are left pondering how this evolving narrative will shape the future of not only U.S.-China relations but also the security calculus of nations in the Indo-Pacific region. The stakes are high, and as both leaders pursue their respective agendas, the world watches closely, bracing for the implications of their actions. In an era where free trade faces unprecedented threats, particularly from rising protectionist sentiments in the United States, the relationship between China and France emerges as a beacon of potential collaboration amidst global uncertainty. As the international landscape shifts and the specter of a fragmented world order looms, both nations find themselves at a critical juncture, where mutual respect and cooperation could pave the way for a more stable global environment. The recent decision by U.S. President Donald Trump to impose a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports has reignited discussions on the fragility of global trade ties. The European Union's swift denunciation of this move highlights the growing unease surrounding America's trade policies, which many fear could precipitate a wider trade war. In this context, experts warn of a potential G0 world where no single nation or coalition is willing or capable of leading a coherent global agenda. Such a scenario could accelerate the power shift from west to east, with China being poised to assume a more prominent role on the global stage. France's historical ties with China add a unique dimension to this evolving narrative. The two countries have cultivated a relationship steeped in mutual fascination and pragmatism. France was the first major Western nation to recognize the People's Republic of China in 1964, a gesture that not only underscored its desire for diplomatic independence but also facilitated China's eventual integration into the international community. Today, as both nations navigate a complex geopolitical landscape, their partnership is more critical than ever, with France serving as a key interlocutor between China and the West. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi recently echoed this sentiment during discussions at the Munich Security Conference, emphasizing China's commitment to fostering healthy bilateral ties with the Czech Republic, which also reflects broader themes in China's foreign policy approach. Wang underscored the necessity for mutual respect, particularly regarding core interests such as the One China principle. His remarks resonate with the ongoing need for countries to find common ground amidst diverging national interests, especially in light of the growing geopolitical tensions exacerbated by the Ukraine crisis and shifting alliances. As France seeks to reaffirm its leadership role within Europe, its relationship with China will be pivotal in shaping not only bilateral trade but also collaborative efforts in addressing pressing global challenges. The French government, recognizing the importance of maintaining open channels of communication with China, aims to balance its national interests with those of the European Union. This balancing act is not without its challenges, as the EU grapples with internal divisions and external pressures, particularly from the United States. Amid these complexities, both China and France have the opportunity to craft a partnership that transcends mere economic transactions. By prioritizing dialogue and cooperation, they can work towards establishing a more stable and sustainable international order. French diplomacy's historical pedigree, noted for its independence and strategic vision, can serve as a model for navigating the murky waters of international relations. Looking ahead, the path to a robust China-France partnership will require both nations to rise above their differences and embrace the spirit of collaboration. As the global landscape continues to evolve, the stakes are high, not just for China and France but for the entire international community. The choices made today will resonate far into the future, shaping the dynamics of global trade diplomacy and governance for generations to come.